Hey everyone, welcome back once again to the Elmwood Midweek Bible Podcast, where our goal is to help you understand your Bible and see how everything connects with Jesus. My name is John, and I am joined here today by the one and the only, our very special guest, Uncle Rico. No, just kidding. You get Matt. Matt's who you get. Sorry for the disappointment. But today we are talking about the subject of living in the past. And we know that there are really unhealthy ways to live in the past, and Uncle Rico embodies that. Check it out.
Back in '82, I used to be able to throw a pigskin a quarter mile.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over them mountains? Yeah, if Coach would have put me in fourth quarter, we'd have been state champions, no doubt. No doubt in my mind. You better believe things would have been different. I'd have gone pro. In a heartbeat. I'd be making millions of dollars and living in a big old mansion somewhere. You know, soaking it up in a hot tub with my soulmate.
I love that clip of Uncle Rico because he's the reminder of exactly who we don't want to be, being bound up.
Pigskin a quarter mile.
Yeah, watch me throw it over the mountain. Just being bound up in the idea that he could not play professional football.
That's my one regret in life.
I figured. You look like a linebacker over there. You look like you're ready to go.
You should have seen me.
But this idea of living in the past came up because we're finishing up our Habakkuk sermon series, and we finished in chapter 3 this past week. And one of the things that we find with the prophet is that he looks back to what God had done in order to find contentment with the present. So let's look at that real quick. John, would you read the beginning of chapter 3 there for us?
Yeah, verse 2 says, "Lord, I have heard of your fame. I stand in awe of your deeds, Lord. Repeat them in our day, in our time, make them known. In wrath, remember mercy."
Yeah, so there's a number of ways that we live into the past, and we're going to focus on two of them today. But the reality is no matter how we live into the past, it's always going to be formative. It's always going to shape who we are in the present and into the future in some way. So we want to be thoughtful about this. So the first way we're going to talk about, and this is leaning towards maybe the way we don't want to be living into the past, is when we live into the past in a way that breeds frustration and discontentment with the present. And that's challenging, I think, because this is, in my opinion, the default way that we tend to do it, because we have this tendency to sometimes glorify or elevate the past, regardless of whether it was good or bad. But when we look at it in this way, we end up chasing something that's behind us. When we view the past as so much better than the present, it's challenging for us. So maybe some examples of this is like you really appreciate the job that you used to have, and now you're like in a job that you're less than content with, and you feel like you're going through the daily grind. Or some of us do this with the dynamics of church culture or world culture. We know that those same truths tend to be expressed in different ways with each generation, and sometimes we struggle to come to grips and work through that. And we're always looking back to the past. But the result of these things, when we're looking back in that way, is that we end up paralyzed in our ability to serve God well, because we're always looking at what could have been or what should have been and trying to translate that into our present circumstances. And when we do that too much, when we're too busy chasing what's behind us, we're ineffective of taking the mission forward. So,
yeah, and there's a difference between living in the past and grieving things that have happened in the past.
Sure, yeah.
Some of you have had really awful things that you've experienced, and those things have lingering effects on us, and there's a process that we go through to grieve and to deal with those things in a healthy way. But that's not the same thing as living in the past. So there is a healthy way to do it. And Matt, why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, I appreciate what you said there. So the second way, and I would say the healthier way that we live in the past is we live in the past in a way that brings us confidence and contentment in every situation, in our present, into our future, however it is. And this is different from the previous way, because where both of them look at the past and remember God's goodness in it. This way of looking at the past then looks where we're currently at and takes that extra step of recognizing God's goodness and sovereignty in the present. So where your situation in the present might not be your preference, it might not even be comfortable or where you want to be, what we see in the scriptures and in Jesus most fully, right, in the crucifixion, is that God is able to take less than ideal situations and even some really, really terrifying and bleak ones and make them turn out for good. And so as Christ followers, what we do then is we believe that he can do the same thing with us. And there could be a number of reasons then why he has us in our present circumstances. So maybe it's for a season of shaping or sanctifying you, making you more holy or more Christ-like, or maybe it's a season of discipline where he's trying to redirect you more towards him or growing you in some way that you might not even be expecting. And so the point, I think, is yes, we acknowledge what God did good in the past, but then we recognize his goodness and sovereignty in the present by realizing that he knows better than we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, with that, let us just leave you with a couple questions for application for you to kind of just process and ponder as you take this and move forward with it. So, Matt, walk us through these questions.
Yeah, so we got 3 questions to think about as you think about healthy ways to be living in the past. So the first question is this: which part of your past is defining who you are? So try and pinpoint that event that's shaping your emotions, that's shaping your desires, and go there and take some time to contemplate those things. The second question is, what heart desire does longing for that part of your past reveal in you? So pinpoint that moment and then get to the heart of that. When you look to that moment in your past, what desire does that reveal in you? Why do you keep looking back there? Asking why is always helpful. And then the third question is this: how can God meet that need in your present situation or season? So we look at Psalm 16, and it says that pleasures are found at God's right hand forevermore. And what we know from the scriptures and what we believe is that God is able to meet every need that we have, whether through his people or through circumstances or directly in and of himself. So focus then on less on your situation and that part that you keep looking back on, and focus on what's the heart need. How can God meet that heart need that I have right now? And I believe that he will do that if it's truly a need that you have. So,
yeah. Well, we hope that you found this helpful today. And until next time, John and Matt signing off. Bye.
Bye.